Well, hello, friends. I want to introduce you to Anthony Cafik, who is the program manager at St. Joseph's Addiction Recovery Center in Estevan. And we are so grateful to you, Anthony, for sharing with us today. I know you're a passionate soul, and this is not work as much as it is a passion of your heart. So thank you for sharing about the work that you're doing, the wraparound services you're offering to folks in need. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's an honor just to be asked about what we're doing. I'm quite proud of our team and our patients for and our alumni that make this all possible, and including the government that sees this as a big issue and funds us and all the different supports we get throughout the province. So to me, I think it's a dream come true that there is in the healthcare system this level of care and commitment to helping people who, in my opinion, are afflicted with addiction, and to no fault of their own. I don't know of anyone who's ever woke up one day and decided they wanted to lose their family, their livelihood, their will to live, and have a life of addiction. I think these things unwittingly creep up on people, and they find themselves in a position in which they can't change. So it's so important that we can look at them with empathy and compassion.
That's the beginning, isn't it? So
Yeah.
can you tell us a bit about your program?
Yeah. So our program is roughly 3 years in the making. So we're currently a 68-bed facility. We have 32 inpatient beds, 4 rapid access beds, and 32 sober living beds. And what I want to say is, when if you think about addiction as an illness, if I look at any type of illness, you can't really set a date on when you're better. And so what we have to do is have a program that can assess and evaluate on individual levels and move treatment and the different interventions through treatment to treat the addiction, which would be emotionally, behaviorally, mentally, and so on. And not any one person's going to be the same. So you don't, in short, you don't want the treatment center to be a factory, right? You want it to be a place of wellness that is gauged and applied accordingly. So the neat thing about St. Joseph's is that we're open-ended, and the length of treatment is based on milestones and treatment norms in which our clients progress with the help of a counselor and our whole clinical team. And based on that, we're moving them to complete treatment. So we're preparing them to leave. And it's not that we're fixing them, but we're partnering with them to help them achieve their desires to change their life. And they are supported along that path. And it's a painful path. And they need those supports so they don't leave early. It's too easy to give up and go back to a life of addiction, because that's what addiction is. I don't know how to cope up with pain and unmanageability and difficulty, but is there a team that can help you walk that through and using that as an experience that they can build life skills on? Because as we know, life can be very difficult. And many, if you really look at addiction and where they come from difficult home situations and so on, and they don't have the skills to navigate that. And the next thing you know, they have a drink, they smoke some pot or use some drugs, and they get the relief and they go, that's what I want. And so there's really a spiritual aspect of addiction. Is they really, I think, like any of us, we're looking for peace. We're looking for some sort of relief from the pressures of life. And they happen to choose alcohol and drugs to do that. And then it got a grip of them and they can't get out of it. So what we're doing is we're not teaching them to stop. We're teaching them not to start. We're teaching them that to reach out to something else that they can trust that will support them through that. because if they don't pick up or use again, they won't have an issue. So we have to really look at the root causes. What's going on? Is it trauma? Is it different types of triggers? Is it relationship issues? Is it financial issues? All kinds of different things that are going on. So we can see those relapse triggers and attitudes and give them alternative behaviors. And we monitor that, and then they get hope that they can make the changes in their life. We don't do it for them, they do it. And the neat thing is what we have, and we've worked collaboratively with the housing authority, is I wouldn't be so naive to think that a treatment center, you would go in, you get treated, and then somehow things will be different after. I use the analogy, I just had a knee operation. I had a brilliant surgeon put a new knee in for me, but that doesn't fix me. Now the work begins. I have to do the rehab. I have to do the exercises. I have to go through the pain and do that work diligently. And I've been given, it's a beautiful support team with physio and I have my own family supports and so on that encourage me along that road. That's the model, a recovery-oriented system care model. So a treatment center or more beds isn't going to solve the problem. It needs to be a system that looks at what is this individual, what do they need, and where are they going back to? So when I left the hospital with my knee, they said, Anthony, how you getting home? They said, what is at home? Are there stairs? Okay, they prepared me to leave that hospital to be successful in the environment I was going back to. This is exactly what our model is. We work with the housing authority so that we can take people that don't have homes, they don't have the finances, they don't have the skills to clean, hygiene, manage finances. Can you imagine taking someone off the street or has come into the lowliest parts of addiction, bring them to a treatment center, get them doing well, and say goodbye? So no, that any more than the doctor would have said goodbye to me when I had my knee surgery. And so what we've done is using social assistance, using the housing authority, and our program with wraparound services, we provide an environment in which they go and be successful. So we're teaching them how to budget. We're teaching them how to cook. We're teaching them how to manage a schedule. We're getting them back in our program as volunteers so they start giving back. Some of them are getting their education. Some are getting their legal issues sorted out and working with the local police department and figuring those things out. And they're like happy to engage that. They see that people are wanting to change and there'll be vehicles of that. So we then have them in our sober living and then they start volunteering. They see their value. They start organizing their life. They're taking responsibility. That restores their dignity. They can have a home. They can manage their finances. They can provide their food. They have their shelter. They can feel like that all their addiction and the shame around it and guilt, that they actually can become a productive member of society. And we provide that. And the really neat thing is we have several of our staff that have come through our program, including counselors, addiction specialists, support staff. And I want to say that we believe in what we do.
Shows profoundly, Anthony. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so you've got this wraparound system with lived experience program facilitators and helping guide and support, walk beside them through this journey.
Yeah.
What are some that you would name as keys to the success of what's going on? Anything specific?
Yeah. So it's about trust. So it's very hard to trust people when you've been in addiction because you've alienated yourself from your family, your friends, your coworkers, and so on. In addiction, and rightly so, trust has been broken. So they will think they're worthless. And when they have reached out, sometimes even when they were younger, they may have had a bad experience with trusting and they decided to keep to themselves. So the number one thing is, how do we develop a therapeutic relationship in which they trust and believe us, in which they will then start to make these baby steps and allow us to help them, because the best program in the world will not help anyone unless someone wants to use it and they feel that it's safe. So the key aspect is that we take our white privilege and you put it in the backyard. You take your bias, your all of those things that, if we're honest with ourselves, we look at, and we don't project that on our patients, because what they'll do is they'll pick that up and they'll reject it. They'll feel rejected and they won't change. So I want to say that the team is super important to be supported, where we support each other. So where we've seen those things and we give each other feedback that we're doing the right thing, not to harm our patients. Not that we'd want to, but we're human. We all come with our background. So our team is really built around that. And it's actually exactly what we ask our patients to do. So we model the very thing we ask our patients to do. We give each other feedback. We know we're human. We show each other love and care and compassion. We debrief at the end of the day so that we're not taking this home to our families, that we're not going to burn out, and that we're doing these things. Like when you're working with this intense environment, it's hard not to take it on. And so we need to support each other. So the team is very important. And I want to say that when we have our former patients that have, became a addictions counselor and come back, the beauty of that is they're honored and are grateful that they can give back. And so those are our best employees. There's no entitlement. There's no arrogance. They know where they come from, and they're honored to be able to help someone in their journey. And that's what this is built around. And if I was to say anything, and I'm glad the government and want to provide beds and so on, I think the work environment, the atmosphere, and these aspects of what we're putting in a treatment center are very critical and should not be overlooked. And again, it's about partnerships. And I think what's happening here in Estevan, I'd love to see throughout the province. I know we work with various detox centers and other treatment centers in the province, as well as housing authority and so on. And we built partnerships to bridge the gap in services because we want to, and it's the right thing to do. And we're doing that because we don't want to see anyone lost through those gaps. And of course, we can't make people get well, but the window of opportunity and change is very narrow, and you need to have a system that responds rapidly, knowing that. And so we do that as best we can with what we have. The other thing is that I want to say that what's also very important is throughput. It's not about the amount of patients, it's the quality of the care that they receive. So an example would be if you went to detox and you would see they're full and they have wait lists and so on, if you talk to them, they would talk about the recycling of the same patients. Okay. So that's burning up beds, right? It's musical chairs in a sense with the same group of people. But if you can pop those out into a treatment center, move them into longer term care, and provide them the necessary skills, you're not going to see them back. And therefore, you're going to find more efficiency in the system. And if you do see them back, and this is a testament, we actually have a stabilization program. If someone relapses, they phone us because they experienced that trust. They experienced something special at the center and they're saying, can we help you? And we do. And then we do a specialized program that targets forensically their relapse. And then we send them back and equip them, or we bring them back into our sober living program. So we even have a feeder circuit that can refine, because relapse can happen and so on. But do we have a system that accommodates for that? And I say we do. And so I'm really proud of everyone that makes this work. And again, it's a great system, but it's the people that make it work, and it's the patients that make it successful. And if I was to say there was a testimonial or anything, it's not what I say, it's what our patients say. Yeah.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, I have heard what a patient has said, and it's been profoundly affirming of your program. And I think you've really emphasized the values that are built into your program, and that trust is huge. I think that's so paramount and key, as you said. How
Yeah.
have you worked with stigmas around this in your community, in this programming, setting up a program such as that in a community?
Well, it's a great question. Okay. So if you think about what a stigma is, if I was really to look at it, that people have had adverse experiences with addiction. One, you can see it on the street corner, you can read it in the news, you can see there's violence attached to it, there are legal issues, it doesn't make the community safe. So there are some real fears there, and they're right, they're legitimate. All the more reason to address the issue. And because really we're not treating addicts or getting people well, we're rebuilding a community to be safe, and that there's something going on that is causing a disruption in the community. And so how do we address that? And it's symptomatic, right? The symptoms, do we treat the symptoms? Do you just arrest everybody? Do you just move them to another building? Or do you treat the illness at the root? And so what I'm saying is we're building a community of wellness here. So the stigma is going to be there. And that's, I don't know if I can change that, but what can change the perception are those in the community that used to be a negative impact that are now positive. So for instance, at our new sober living, we're instituting a good neighborhood policy and going around and picking up garbage around the neighborhood instead of the ones dropping the garbage. All of those types of things, volunteering and so on. So I want to say it's a program of action and not words. And I think that's where can we have patience with that and love and tolerance, even from those that have stigma. And I want to say the biggest stigma the addict has of himself or herself. So I think they think of themselves way less than anyone else does when you really get down to it. And part of that is they self-destruct because they don't feel like they have any value. And they have evidence that would say they don't. And so, but would we hold that against them to stop them from being well? If someone came into the hospital with a bleeding out with their leg, would I ask them about their morals or their values? Probably not. I would triage them and treat the illness. And I'm going to leave their values and morals up to them and their own spirituality. And I would say that addiction is the number one thing in the way of that. And so I trust that people are good and they've learned some bad habits on the way, and that those can be changed.
Oh, Anthony, we could talk all day long.
Yeah.
You're such a wealth of experience, such a beacon of hope, with a program that is making a profound difference. I want to thank you for the time that you've given us in just giving us a little window of information about your program. Is there anything else that we've not said that you would like to make sure you say?
Well, I would ask any of anyone who would see this, that in your own way, if you could just hold us in your thoughts and prayers, that, and whatever that is. And I think that's very important, and that's needed. And my hope and dream is that this will have a positive impact on people's lives and families and our province. Yes.
And we will hold
Yeah.
space with all that you're doing in our hearts. And thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.